Hey everybody, another topic to bring to you. This is going to go more in depth on ransomware and encryption viruses. These have been around for a while and they have evolved. So what we used to see back in the day is these would just be, viruses that or malicious software that would encrypt files on your computer, often breaking it to where it was just completely unusable. And in certain cases, in the early days, we used to see this commonly associated with boot sector viruses, meaning they were on the boot partition of your hard drive, so every time you restarted, even if you'd done a cleanup or neutralized them, they would basically re-engage and redeploy. So what normally happens in these is your files become encrypted one by one. Usually these are your documents, any sort of information that you need to access. Over time, less and less system files, which those are the files that your computer needs to have access to run, those weren't encrypted sometimes at all or until the very end of the attack. So that way you could still use your computer and just let this virus run its course, get more of your data so that you were kind of bent over the barrel. All right, so how this would eventually manifest itself is there would be a ransom demand, hence the name ransomware. They would say you need to send X number of Bitcoin to a certain address or wallet. Well, okay, the reason you did this is because usually you didn't have any sort of backup situation or solution in place, rather, and you needed this because you couldn't operate. You didn't have your data. So, okay, people got wise to that. IT companies, if you're worth your salt, you started selling disaster recovery, offsite backups, cloud backups, whatever you want to call them, because that way if your on-premises data gets compromised, you have an ability to just download it all. You don't pay the ransom, F everybody. So, add the second layer of extortion. This is where the criminals are like, okay, well, how do we get around this? Oh, well, let's just find a dark web, black market to basically sell all this data that we have, and just kind of roll the dice and make some money off this. So, okay, you've got offsite data backups, great, but if your information is still going to be sold, that's kind of the problem you have to combat. And especially if you have sensitive client information, payment information, credit cards. Say you work with somebody that has, HIPAA information. That's a problem. That's definitely what can get you on the hook for data breach liability. So that gets, into one of the main reasons why you need a cyber liability policy if you are a business. There is first-party coverage that will protect you and indemnify you in the event of a loss where you're down, say you can't work 2 weeks. For example, in this, I used to work with a country club. Well, through no fault of our own, one of their employees found an old system, brought it from home. We're really not sure which. Within 3 hours, ransomware on the entire network. They couldn't serve their customers. They were down. Punchline is, even though we had offsite data backups, their software vendors would not allow us to back up their main database. They were responsible for this, and they did not do what they said. So this company was down for about 2 weeks. So we got them up and running, but they were still limping along because they didn't have all their functionality that they needed to. And country clubs and the wealthy clientele that tend to, access these, they weren't very happy about that. So punchline in the end is you get a $20,000 bill from my small company to get you back to whole. Well, we're also working with your software vendor who doesn't know what the hell they're doing to get you going again. And you're basically paying this out of pocket. You don't have a cyber policy, which they did not. So 20 grand to us, who knows how much to the software company. So anyway, let's move on to the most insidious of this. Okay, so first layer, pay to get your own data back. Second layer, pay to keep it from being sold. And third layer is where the cyber criminals are going after your victims. They are basically reaching out, they're doing their due diligence, finding out whose contact info they have, how much data they have on these people. They'll reach out to them in turn saying, look, this isn't your fault that your data's out here, but we have it. You need to pay us X number of Bitcoin in order to get it back. So if you're the company responsible for the breach, third-party coverage is what you need that cyber liability form for, because it will help you against anything that could turn into a very nasty claim, class action lawsuit, hundreds of thousands of dollars, you name it. It's just, you need it. So this is an attack that it wouldn't surprise me if it continues to morph, because there are so many threat actors out there in actual, just a handful of groups that are responsible for the majority of ransomware attacks across the world. So it's kind of like Bill Gates back in the day. He said the people that he liked to hire were lazy people and criminals. because you can guarantee these people will come up with the most time-efficient, creative solutions to solve a problem. So if you're a cyber criminal, well, you're solving the problem of how to get around all these, blockages in place. What do you do? So it's not uncommon these days to find multiple instances of encrypted files on a system, meaning there could be 3 threat actors that have deployed ransomware, and you just see them attached to each file, and you can determine by the variant which group it was that initiated this attack. So pretty nasty situation. How do you fight it? Well, offsite backups, disaster recovery, that should be your number one. You should have a competent IT individual, department, or vendor that has a robust EDR, XDR solution in place for your systems, continually monitors it, has something that tracks system logs, strange activity, like a spec ops tool. It's just very on top of what they do and does routine checks, because the set it and forget it method isn't going to cut it anymore. So a lot of times, simple steps. Don't give unauthorized users access to your system. Be very mindful of onboarding and offboarding employees, disabling accounts that are no longer needed. And, just kind of at the end of the day, I've seen this happen before. Don't hook up old computers to your network that are completely out of compliance and past their end of life date. And if you find a random flash drive in your parking lot, don't pick it up and plug it in. Just don't. So, anyway, hope that is helpful, and be safe out there. Take care, everybody.